Welcome back, everybody, to Infinite Fantasy, the show where we're going through every Final Fantasy thing that exists, and we're gonna rank them based on how much we think they define Final Fantasy.
Oh yes,
I'm Alex.
I'm Kevin. We're back.
We're back.
Not too long after the
No,
last one again.
it's been like a month, I think.
Yeah,
That's some crazy turnaround.
we're getting on a roll with it.
Yes.
We're starting to get more serious about it. We're getting into some of the side games.
Mm-hmm. Breezing
Um,
through them.
breezing through them. We're actually we're on to the sequel of one of the previous side games we did.
The last one actually that we did.
Yes.
Chocobo's Dungeon 2.
Yes, not Chocobo's Mystery Dungeon 2.
Nope.
I'm
Name's
not
different.
not sure about that.
Yeah.
Don't know why that is.
But yeah. Anything else we want to say up top? I mean, we were doing it. We're zooming through these games. We're having a
Yes.
good time. Go check out our YouTube. We played some extra bonus little games.
Yes, that was
It's
great.
cool.
Air Guys.
And the mud, the Squaresoft
Yes,
mud.
that was really cool.
But yeah, before we get into the game that we're talking about, let's talk about the news.
Yes.
It's like we said, it hasn't been that long since we recorded last.
I know.
It has only been a month or so, or maybe not even a month since we recorded last.
Yeah, I don't think so. Is there any news?
There is one bit of news in
Okay.
that tomorrow, the beginning is the start when it starts of Final Fantasy 14 Fan Fest
Oh.
in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Oh wow.
It's a Final Fantasy. I don't know if it's specifically Final Fantasy 14 like only,
Okay.
but it is a Final Fantasy festival that people can go to, like a convention
Wow.
in Las Vegas. I wanted to get tickets for it, but they sold out like immediately.
Oh my god, wow.
So I don't know. And I think they've done this in the past before COVID,
Okay.
but this is, I believe, the first one since the pandemic that they've
Wow.
had.
That's crazy that it sold out so fast.
Yeah. So, I mean, one of these days we got to go.
Yeah, I gotta go next year maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I'll have to keep an eye out.
Yeah,
And
for
also
sure.
I keep an eye out for Distant Worlds,
Oh
which
yes.
is the symphony live orchestra that plays
Yes,
Final Fantasy
yes.
music. I always miss every time they come here.
I always miss the Kingdom Hearts one too. I think
Yeah.
they've come a couple times.
Yeah, so I'm always keeping an eye out for them. I think they're going to, the next date was like Los Angeles or something. I was like,
Okay.
that could be fun to go to, but probably not. I don't
Yeah.
know. So we're gonna go. We gotta do some stuff in person.
Yes,
Go to
absolutely.
these fun events.
I know they have like Final Fantasy, like obviously going to Japan would be
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lot, but like I know they have like Final Fantasy like pop-ups and stuff in Japan all
I
the
think
time.
they have like a Square Enix, they probably have like some Square Enix stores and stuff. I think
So
like
maybe
how
we
they have the
could
big Pokemon store.
maybe we could like get some stuff online and like do a showcase of some stuff.
That would be cool. Yeah,
like some merch maybe.
yeah. I think that'd be sick. Well,
Yeah.
anyway, like we said, I don't know why I said like we said, like I was gonna go to anything.
Like
I
said,
had any idea of what I was gonna say. Like we said,
let's get on to the game.
that's it. That's the news. Yeah, the game. Chocobo's Dungeon 2 for the PlayStation 1. 1998.
Oh wow. We're getting towards the 2000s.
We're barreling straight towards 9/11
Great.
when everything changed.
Yes.
Yes. We are getting there. We're almost out of the I guess I shouldn't say almost. We are kind of almost out of the PlayStation 1 era of Final Fantasy.
Yes. Well,
There's only a couple more games left, to be honest. Like I think
at least mainline just 8 and 9.
yeah, and then there's a few. Actually, I think there's quite a few side games that are still on the PlayStation, but we're in the single digits of games left on the PS1. I
Yes.
think.
And I think what is it? Final Fantasy X, I'm pretty sure, is one of like the earliest games on the PS2. I'm pretty sure
Same with Kingdom Hearts, I think.
I'm pretty sure it was originally intended for the PS1.
Oh, really? Wow.
Because the controls, like I'm sure obviously we'll get there, but like
Yeah.
the controls are like you can kind of tell they're meant for the
Yeah.
PlayStation 1.
Right.
Like, you know, they didn't have the analog stick at the beginning for PlayStation 1, I believe.
Yeah, they had just the D-pad.
Yeah.
But anyway, we played this game. It's the first of the Chocobo Mystery Dungeon games released in America
Yes.
officially. So we were able to play that. I tried to look up why it's called Chocobo's Dungeon 2, and I don't know why. Like people online are also confused because it's like it was called Chocobo's Mysterious Dungeon. Now they're calling it Chocobo's Dungeon, and nowadays they call it Chocobo's Mystery Dungeon.
Yeah,
So complete even a third way to say it.
and I thought it was, like, going to be a problem with the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games,
Yeah. I
but
never
it doesn't
played
seem
those.
to
Are
be.
those good?
I've never played them either.
I think I owned one time.
I think it's something like you're recruiting other Pokemon to join your team or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, and you're playing as Pokemon and
Yeah,
stuff.
but it seems like that's not the case, like, that's why they changed it because I'm pretty sure the newer ones are Mystery Dungeon.
Yeah,
So, like,
Chocobo's
it's, like,
Mystery Dungeon.
exactly the same. So I don't know. Maybe
Strange.
maybe it's just a translation thing.
It could be. But anyway, we play this game. Let's talk about the plot of
Mhm.
the game. So it is a direct sequel to the first game,
Yep.
technically. We always try and use like the default character names
Mhm.
every time we are prompted to give a character a name. And
But
in this game, the default names were Mog and Chocobo.
yeah,
That's it.
just straight up Chocobo.
But as far as I could tell from context clues, they are just the same characters from the
Yes.
first game because you find the very beginning, you guys stumble on a mystery dungeon, and Mog is like, "It's a mystery dungeon," and the Chocobo's like, "Huh?" And then Mog says, "We've dealt with these before," or
Yeah.
something like that. So it's just a sequel to the game. They're fine. They just found another mystery dungeon.
Yep.
I've, to be honest, in my life, I've never found a mystery
Yeah,
dungeon.
I don't
So it's
think.
crazy that they found two.
But, like, imagine finding one and then, like, surviving it and then,
Yeah.
like, noticing the second one.
Yeah.
Did you notice the first one the first time?
Yeah, and like it, I just if I was them, I'd be like, "What's going on here?" Like
Like,
what
when
is
you
happening?
when you see one mystery dungeon, it's okay, but when you see 2 mystery
Now I'm
dungeons,
getting suspicious,
something's
okay?
going on
Something's
here.
up. So you go through the mystery dungeon. It's just a little thing, little something something. I don't remember what even happens in the first dungeon, but you eventually get out and you meet Sharoma, who is a white mage
Mhm.
lady. She's a human, the only human in the game. And everyone's freaked out about that for some reason. You go to a nearby town after you finish the dungeon, and there are a bunch of different creatures living in the
Mhm.
town. And one of the creatures is a bomb, one of the
Yes.
one of the red circular bombs. It's a female bomb that has like a bunch of children. She's like a housewife,
Mhm. Mrs. Bomb.
Mrs. Bomb, and she hates Sharoma. She's like this fucking dirty human.
Yes.
Get her out of my face. It's disgusting. I'm spitting at you.
It's kind of like I don't know if it's just Mrs. Bomb, but, like, I'm pretty sure it's kind of like a thing throughout the village that, like, the monsters or creatures don't like humans.
Yeah. Which is strange, but
But Mrs. Bomb really doesn't like
yeah, she
humans.
really hates humans. You got a lot of people in town. I guess we can explain the town a little bit. So the town, well, first off, before we get like too deep into like the mechanics of the game and stuff, I want to say this game is basically the first game,
Yes.
but like 10 times better.
Mhm.
Everything they did in this game is so much better than the first game in every way.
And that's what we were hoping with in the last video, like,
Yeah.
we were explaining, like, we hoped that they brought over everything from the last game.
Yeah, and they did. And so this town is kind of the Animal Crossing style town that we were talking about in the first game where people
Mhm.
will like move in, stories will progress, but in the first game things didn't really happen. Like people weren't really doing anything. You just
Yeah.
could talk to people. They didn't give you anything as far as we could tell anyway. But in this, you get to meet a bunch of people and like progress their storylines, which we'll talk about a little later, I
Yep.
guess. But you got like a item shop with the chubby chocobo.
Yep.
He's running an item shop. You have a I don't even know what kind of enemy it is. It's like a behemoth or something that's
Yes.
like sculpting.
Yeah, he's a sculptor and he has a wife and kid, and I believe the kid is, like, always sad that his parents are gone.
Yeah, because his dad's always sculpting and his mom is like missing. I don't remember how we find the mom.
Yeah, I forget. I think she just kind of came back after
We
you
finished the
helped
first
him.
statue.
Yeah, you, like, use magic to help. It's I guess it's with most of these, like, side quests, like, you use magic to help them and progress their story.
Yeah, and then you have Chef Latonberry,
Yes.
the best character in the game.
Oh,
He's a
absolutely.
French Tonberry who's a chef.
Yes.
He's instead of a lantern, he's holding a wine bottle. and he's got a knife, and he's walking around talking in a stereotypical French accent.
Yes, you bet.
It's great. And then you see there's like a Marlboro that's like drunk in the corner of his place, and we'll talk about that later.
Yep.
That'll come up because the storylines progress as you go through the
Yes.
game. It's cool. There's also a tree that also comes into play later.
Mhm.
And what else am I?
And
Oh,
then there's the magician's
the
school.
magician's school. That's right. Which at the beginning you can't really do anything with, but there's people like asking like, "Bring me a potion, bring me an
Mhm.
essence," and so you're going through the dungeons like trying to find these things to give to these people. And I believe that's it. Oh well, there's
Oh,
also like the storage place too, where you can store your
yes.
things.
And there's like a bestiary underneath the wizards
Oh yeah,
area,
yeah.
which I thought was really cool. It's got like a statue of every enemy and the summons too.
And it has like a little quote from them, like a little something. It's not
Yes.
even something that's been said in the game, but it's something like they would say, which
Yeah.
is funny.
And it shows the different like stages of enemies.
Yeah,
'Cause
that's a cool thing about this game.
yeah, I was wondering, does that happen in the first game?
I
Like
don't think
if
so.
enemies kill other enemies either on accident or on purpose, then they level up and become a new version of themselves.
Yeah, they become like a better version, different color, more they have like more attack and everything like
Yep.
that. And yeah, it like changes the name of the enemy too.
Yeah, and it actually you can see the different names of the enemies in the bestiary too,
Yeah.
and they each have different quotes, which I thought was crazy. Like,
I thought that was so sick too, because like a bestiary in a regular game is usually just a menu that you're flipping through and
yeah,
looking at, but this is like a museum of
yeah,
statues. I thought that was so cool.
very Animal
Yeah,
Crossing.
very This game is so Animal Crossing,
Yes.
but if there was a mystery dungeon
It's
also.
kind of like I don't know if you've played or seen Stardew
Yeah,
Valley.
Stardew Valley.
Like,
It's
I
kind of
feel
like
like it kinda reminds me of that,
it's like that
except
if the mines were the main part of the game
yeah,
and the
and there were,
farming
like,
was
no
separate.
farming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also one other thing in town. There's a beach that you can go to
Mhm.
where items will sometimes wash up on the beach. And from what I could tell, the items that would wash up on the beach are items you lose in the dungeon. So if
Yes.
you lose an item, you could just go to the beach and hopefully pick it up. But anyway, let's go back to like the main story. So that's like kind of the setup for everything in town. Then you will go. What happens?
So
You're in the dungeon.
so this is what happened in the dungeon is, like, obviously, Mog knew it was a mystery dungeon or
Yeah.
something, and I believe we go into it and we meet Shiroma inside the dungeon in front of this big, like, grand looking door,
Yeah, that's
and
right.
like, I believe Mog, like, really wants to get in, and Mog gets in, and there's a huge crystal, and Shiroma's basically saying, like, "You don't wanna touch that crystal,
Yeah,
like,
we gotta go.
you don't wanna do anything with it." And so, Mog is inside this room with the crystal, and there's an enemy, I believe, called
A
a Guzz?
Guzz, yeah, and it's like
Um,
a little like robot fox or
yeah,
something.
something like that, and they get locked in, and I believe it, like, explodes out of the water or
Yeah,
something?
the um, I think the mystery dungeon was like built into the cliff side or something,
Yeah.
and it explodes and falls into the water.
Mhm.
So like falls underwater. Everyone escapes though.
Well, I
I
believe
think.
Mog
Oh,
is
Mog does.
still in there, and
Yes.
Shiroma and Chocobo get blown away, and so now basically they're like, "We need to go back to the dungeon to get Mog."
Yeah. Oh, another thing we didn't even mention about this game, it's two player,
Yes.
which is so cool. So I got to play the second player in this game.
Yes, basically first player is the Chocobo,
Uh-huh. You get to do everything in the game basically.
and second player is just either Mog or Shiroma or other characters we'll talk about
Yeah,
later.
whoever the side character is for the dungeon, and second player, so you can have them in an like NPC mode where they're
Mhm.
just following you and sort of doing things. That everyone has their own special abilities they do. I don't remember what Mog's is.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I can't remember, so apologies for that. But they all do their own thing. Shiroma, when you're in a dungeon with her, she heals you
Mhm.
once every floor. She'll heal you. But when you're controlling it, when the second player is controlling the person, they can't do this special ability. All they can do is move around and attack.
Yep.
So it's pretty limited. I couldn't pick up any items
Mhm.
or do anything. I couldn't really go off on my own either because the camera follows the chocobo the whole
Yes.
time.
I
But
do
I didn't think it was bad. I had a fun time. Like
Oh,
it was
yeah.
just kind of chill. I got to relax, and then if we were ever in a room with multiple enemies, you were like taking care of one, and it's just like, yeah, I'll run over here and I'll attack this other one. We'll get it done real quick.
Yeah, I feel like the game was, like, meant for to have 2
Yeah,
players.
it felt that way because um, there were a couple times later on in the game where we, like, tried to play 1 player or, like, sometimes when my controller would die
Mhm.
and we'd be playing 1 player, and it seemed like way harder
Yeah.
because with 2 players, it's almost like you're doing double damage
Yes.
because the NPC will attack just kind of when it feels like when
Mhm.
it's on the computer mode. If an enemy's somehow walked in front of it, like, maybe it'll attack it, but if it's being controlled by someone, like, I'm attacking all the
Yeah,
time.
every turn.
Anyway, so back to the story. We'll talk about mechanics later. Back to the story. So you go down the underwater dungeon. So
Yes.
basically Sharoma's like, or maybe Chocobo is like sad about Mog, so
Mhm.
they're like, we got to go back in the dungeon and find him. We got to talk to this crazy old guy
Yep.
named Sid. He's
Sid.
got a tower. So we gotta climb his tower and meet him. Or do you do this right now?
I believe he gets met, like, halfway through the dungeon,
Yeah,
but I'm pretty sure we need to get some sort of, like, mechanism that he has to go
a
underwater.
submarine, like
Yeah.
Sid's submarine or whatever.
I forget exactly what they call it, but it's
Yeah.
something like that.
So you meet him in his tower. You go down to the underwater dungeon. You meet up with Mog again after you get through it.
Yep.
You get to like the crystal room and it's locked. Like you can't go in it, but you can still see like the fancy door.
Mhm.
And what? Oh, I guess you just leave, right? Is that what happens?
I feel like, oh, no, you see the
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
weapon.
Yeah, so there's, like, a weapon inside of the dungeon, like, Final Fantasy
Yeah,
VII,
it
like, a
looks
weapon,
quite similar to those.
and I believe it bursts out of the dungeon at that point?
Yeah, and it goes into the sky, or it goes up to the top of the mountain, I believe,
Yeah, or does it?
and I'm pretty sure.
No, so this doesn't happen yet, I don't think. I think what happens is you go through the underwater dungeon. I swear we just played this game. I
I
don't know why I'm
know.
forgetting this, but you get out of the underwater dungeon with everybody safe except some imps kidnap Sharoma
Yes,
after you get out of the
yes,
underwater dungeon and take her to the mountain for some reason. Like they're going up to the mountain.
yes.
So now you have to team up with Sid to go through the forest and through like this swamp area to get to the mountain. So
Yeah,
that dungeon is really cool because most of the dungeons you're just going like floor to floor to floor, going up or down,
yeah,
like
they all
wherever
look
you're
the
going.
same.
In this one, there's like 10 floors of a forest, and
Yep.
instead of going upstairs, you have to like find an exit that goes deeper into the forest
Mhm.
somewhere. Then you go to a swamp, then you go to the mountain. And so I found that like shake up really cool. I thought the
Yeah,
dungeons were like so unique in this game.
and there were always, like, every 10 floors or so, there was kind of like a little, uh, respite, like, kind of room, like, nothing with any items, but just, like, a room to chill, like, there's
Yeah.
no enemies, and, like, you can just go up to the next floor, like, but there would usually be, like, either the weapon or some kinda scenery
Yeah, or
around.
maybe a cutscene would play.
Yeah.
That's also so is this
Yes.
when Bahamut starts showing up?
Yes.
I think it's either here or in the underwater dungeon. Bahamut starts showing up. I guess have
And
we
he's
ever?
just talking.
Yeah, he's just talking to you like a normal guy. He's like a wise dragon, and he's explaining why that dungeon appeared, the mystery dungeon. And
Mhm.
he's so the story is that like years and years in the future, like decades or like hundreds of years in the future, humans are living on the planet.
Mhm.
Like, there's not a lot of humans around right now, but in the future there will be humans, and they completely destroy the earth basically, like some crazy like apocalypse thing happens,
Mhm.
but they invented a time machine, I think, that will send someone like back to the past,
Yes.
and the time machine is the dungeon or something like that. Like the dungeon gets sent back to the past
Yes, yes.
with Shiroma in it. Shiroma is from the future. And also for some reason I think it was like specifically said that it was like Final Fantasy VI's future. Where was that from? Do you remember?
I
Yeah, I don't know what
I
that
know.
was,
Yeah.
but I swear I don't know. I'll try and find it in like the footage when I'm um editing this for the YouTube video. But
Mhm.
I swear there was something that Bahamut says that we were like. that's a reference to Final Fantasy VI, and
Yes.
I think they're implying that this is from Final Fantasy VI. Oh no, it was like an enemy, I think. What the hell? I'm going crazy.
I
Anyway, there was
know. I do
something
remember
that
that.
was a reference to Final Fantasy VI, and we were like, "That's like,
And it's even Mog is the same because Mog is named
yeah,
in Final
yeah."
Fantasy VI. So
I don't know. It's something. If I can't find it, maybe I'll just cut all this out, whatever. But
yeah.
I there's something there. I forget what it was, but it was late. We were freaking out about it.
yes.
But it's like subtly implied that Shiroma lived in the setting of Final Fantasy VI,
Mhm.
basically, and this is from that time for some reason. Anyway, so yeah, it is also revealed at some point during this dungeon, the forest dungeon, that Shiroma was kidnapped by these like little imps, and these little imps were working for a character named Glass Goth,
Yes.
which is this big, crazy imp robot guy.
Yeah, he kind of looks like I feel like this might make sense to you. Like if Blanca and who's the one from Street Fighter with Vega,
Oh
Blanca and
yeah,
Vega kind of mash up.
a little bit, yeah, and also it has like a little bit of like Slender Man vibes. Like he's
Yes.
very like skinny and lanky.
So maybe he's just like supposed to be like creepy
Yeah, he's like
looking.
a creepy little guy. Or he's not little, he's big. But he's kidnapped Shiroma. He's also from the future. He traveled back with the dungeon
Hmm.
with Shiroma. And now we find Shiroma, I believe, in the dungeon or
Yep.
in the mountain. But does she get kidnapped again? Yeah, she gets kidnapped again. Like we confront Glass Goth in the mountain,
Hmm.
but then they still escape with Shiroma after that. So Sid is like, "All right, I don't know what to do at this point." Then it turns out Glass Goth was able to activate the like weapon inside
Yes.
of the underwater dungeon somehow, and that floats up into the sky. It starts like shooting like death rays everywhere.
Yep.
People are freaking out.
And then Sid's like, "We gotta go back to the tower."
Yep, got to go back to my tower and get my airship.
Yep, you know it.
You got to get that airship. So you get the airship, you're flying up to the big weapon. There's like a
Hmm.
crazy cutscene where like
Yes.
everyone's shooting at the weapon and like firing like magic and shit.
Yes.
It's so good.
And then basically like none of it really ends up working, and they basically just have to like kind of kamikaze the
The
airship
air
into the weapon.
Yeah,
And
yeah, they
like there's like an eject button that gets Sid and the Chocobo out of there. It's
yeah.
such a really it's like all of the cutscenes in this like the FMV cutscenes are
Yeah.
really well made.
Yeah, I think so. They're so good. And it crashes into the weapon, and then the weapon crashes into the mountainside
Hmm.
and becomes the final dungeon that you have to go through.
Yep.
So you walk up to that, you're going through the dungeon. Also, but before we get to the final dungeon, like in town, things are progressing. Every time you finish a dungeon,
Hmm.
the storylines of all the people in town are progressing. So you'll get to like the behemoth guy, and his house was like full of rocks at the beginning of the
Yes.
game, and then eventually he cleans up his house. His kid is like getting happier. You
Hmm.
find his wife at some point after one of the dungeons. He finishes one of his statues. He finishes sculpting a statue, and it becomes like a golem.
Yes.
Like it comes to life and walks over to this tree, and then you can go to the tree. We didn't like mess around with the tree too
Hmm.
much, but there's a system in the game of like feathers, and the feathers give
Yes.
you like little bonuses.
It's actually a lot of things.
Yeah,
Like there's either you could get upgrades to your normal spells, like either a hitting all with Quake or something like
yeah,
that.
which is the one that we got, which carried us through the
Yes,
game. The Quake
absolutely.
All
But there's also different kinds of spell books, like cantrip books, and there's just normal spell
spells,
books. And cantrips are more like,
status
yeah,
effects.
status like sleep and poison, and then spells are attacking like flare and meteor. But there's
Mhm.
also the mega spells too.
Yeah, like holy and stuff like that.
Yes.
And yeah, oh no, the spell book had meteor, right, and then the mega spell book had meteor,
Yes.
which was just a bigger version of it. But yeah, so in the tree has something to do with the feathers, where you like give feathers, and I believe if you give enough feathers, they'll grow more for you or something. So, something
Hmm.
starts growing there, is what I from what I read, but
Yeah.
we had so little feathers in the game because we didn't know how to get them, so I
Mhm.
didn't wanna give them up, but then eventually we found out how to get them. Anyway, but you also will progress the Chef Latonberry storyline, which is
Mhm.
very funny. The Marlboro, there's, like, the drunk Marlboro that we talked about. You go to talk to him and he says, you gotta shoot me with some lightning. You gotta get that lightning going.
Yep.
So you shoot him with lightning, and we were like, how many times do we have to do this? Because we've like used all of our lightning, but
Yep.
we've used all of our thunder books. And I looked it up, and you had to do it 8 times. You had
Mhm.
to hit him 8 times with thunder, and then he transforms
Yep.
into Rama.
Oh,
The
yes.
summon, and Rama's like, "Damn, dude, thanks so much. I was stuck. I stepped on a transform trap that transformed me into a Marlboro, and then I forgot who I used to be or something like that."
So he just drank his
So he
sorrows.
just drank his sorrows. And he's like, "I can't remember who I was before I transformed in this Marlboro." And so you hit him enough times, and he becomes Rama, and then he gives you the Rama feather.
Yep, and yeah, and so feathers are also, the summons.
Yeah, which was awesome to discover because as the second player, like I said, you're playing as the guest characters in each of these dungeons.
Mhm.
But if you still have the like magicite summons that you can cast during battle that'll
Yep.
like do the big attack. But if you have a summon feather, it transforms the optional like the second party member into the summon.
Yes.
So as the second player, I got to play as Rama and like
Yes.
Ifrit. I think we had no, we didn't have Ifrit. We
We
had
had
Titan
Titan,
at one
yeah.
point. So that was so cool, and they
And
did like different stuff
and
too.
so we got, we got, like, Bahamut as a
Yeah.
summon, so I wonder if either Bahamut or, what's the green one?
Oh, oh, Carbuncle.
Carbuncle, yes. I wonder if, like, you can get all of the summons
Yeah.
as player 2.
I'd
I
be
thought that
I'd
was,
be
like,
so interested.
that was one of my favorite parts of the whole game, that you could have the summons be
Yeah.
the second player, and then once the second player dies, if that ever happens, if they're dying as a summon,
Yeah.
then it does the whole summon effect.
Yeah, so you still get like the bonus of like doing the big attack
Mhm.
afterwards. Yeah, this game is so cool. There's so much stuff in it that I'm like, damn, I wish we would have done some of that a little more. Like I
Yeah.
wish we would have finished the tree thing. So like I
Yes.
don't know, this might be a game that I go back to at some
Yeah,
point,
maybe.
which is crazy, but what else happens in the town? The mages eventually you progress their storylines.
Mhm.
One of the guys gives you a couple feathers that you can use on like the cantrip books and stuff.
Yep.
You unlock the cauldron that you can combine your equipment which
Yep.
is the same from the last game. It's like the same system where you're combining equipment and making it better by combining it with like nuts and stuff. But now you
Mhm.
have like monster essences that you can
Yes.
add to them that will do different things.
Or you could just drink them. Sometimes, like, they give you just, like, a normal, like, health potion, or, like, they
Yeah.
increase your health
Like maximum
maximum.
health. Yeah, and then there's another person that is asking for a monster essence that like unlocks a dispel tonic because
Mhm.
sometimes you can pick up items in the dungeons. They'll be cursed and you can't remove them, so you have to dispel them. So you can just go to that person now and get them dispelled.
Mhm.
What else happens in town? I think that's about it, really. Well, also at some point in the longer dungeons, you can unlock a shortcut because I mean like there's a lot of stuff happening in the game that you should probably just go back to the first episode to listen to us describe like the whole
Yes.
systems of the dungeon games. But in the old game, when you would use a teleport card, again, go back and listen to the other
Yep.
episode to find out what a teleport card is. If you use a teleport card, you could go back to where you were when you used the teleport
Mhm.
card. But in this game, you have to start the whole dungeon over because the dungeons are shorter in this game too.
Yes.
But if for the longer dungeons, you can go to the Chubby Chocobo shop and there's like a staircase in the back that's like
Mhm.
secret and will bring you to like the 10th floor of whatever dungeon you're on at the moment.
Yes.
So that was kind of a cool little like extra thing that's happening.
Mhm.
And also for stuff happening in town, at some point Mrs. Bomb is missing.
Yes, that I was about to lead
Yeah.
that leads into the next dungeon.
Yeah, exactly. So now we're going into the next dungeon. It's the big like exploded body of the weapon.
Mhm.
It was basically the dungeon transformed into like a giant weapon. So we're
Yes.
going through the dungeon again.
But you have to go through the forest, to
Yeah.
get back up to the mountain, but once you get up to the mountain, there's, like, a rock or something blocking
Yeah,
your
it's like
path.
a block of ice, I think. It's
Yes,
been
yeah, that's
like
what it
iced
is.
over. And so Sid is like, I don't know how we're gonna get past this. And Mrs. Baum is like, I'm here.
Mhm.
I'm ready. This is what I was born for.
Yep.
And it was wild because she's like, she's pumping it up, and we're like, is she gonna
Yeah,
die?
like, the
Is
she
she,
has
she's a
children.
bomb. Yeah, she literally established has children that you can talk to in the game.
Yes, she has 3
And
kids.
and she's like talking like she's gonna sacrifice herself because like I know what a bomb does. It
Yes.
explodes.
Yeah.
And so she goes up to the ice wall and explodes, and the ice wall's gone,
Yep.
and we're like, "What the hell is happening?" But then she's just 2 small bombs
So
now.
so there's Mrs. Bomb 1 and Mrs. Bomb 2.
Which is so funny. That was
It's
so funny
great,
to me.
and then, eventually, if you ever, end up, like, going back after that happens, the
Yeah.
kids are like, "Oh, no, we have 2 moms now."
Yeah, they're just hanging out, cooking or whatever.
And they're smaller because she, like, divided. It's
Yeah.
so funny.
So you go into that dungeon now, and you are going through, Bahamut. You'll meet him every once in a while, and he's explaining a couple more things about Glassgoth and
Mhm.
the future. Then you get towards the end of it, and it's revealed that Glassgoth was the Guz from the beginning of the
Yes.
game. So Bahamut has like a TV or something. I don't remember what he says. He's like, "Look at this.
Yeah,
Check out this video I have
yeah,
of
he
you."
did say something like it was a TV or a
Yeah.
screen.
And it shows video of Mog trying to capture the crystal,
Mhm.
and then it shows at the beginning that Guz that was with him that he was like hanging out with, or that was in the same room as
Yeah.
him. And Bahamut is like, "Yeah, so you left, you were like tapping the crystal and didn't really know what was going on with it, and then like the place started to like explode, so you ran away. But this Guz walked up to the crystal and it like granted him a wish to have power,
Yep.
but it took like hundreds of years for him to get that power. So he was just standing in that like crystal room for hundreds of
Mhm.
years, and then he became Glass Goth in the
Yes.
future. And then the dungeon gets sent to the past, which is like now you're into a weird
It's
time
yeah,
paradox
it's
thing. I don't know what's going on.
I think that's kind of
Where did the dungeon even come from? But
where we got confused, I think. I'm
yeah,
pretty sure, like, when Bahamut was showing, like, everyone, like, what happened in the crystal room, I'm pretty sure he was, like, implying that that was, like, the start of the cycle, like,
yeah,
Mog touching the crystal is, like, the beginning of
of
the catalyst of
everything. Yeah,
everything, like, so but that just doesn't make sense.
yeah. I don't know.
Like,
Whatever.
we already saw, we already knew there was a mysterious dungeon.
Yeah, don't think about it. It's all
Yeah.
right. Um, so yeah, that Guz at the beginning is Glass Goth.
Mhm.
You go and fight Glass Goth. Oh my god, I totally forgot too. This is why. Um, I remembered. I remember. Okay, so the bosses at the end of each dungeon. The first dungeon is like a
Yes, oh
big.
my
It's like a
god.
big skeleton like tank thing or something.
I can't believe we forgot about
The
this.
end. This is why we thought it was implying that Final Fantasy VI was connected to this game, because in the underwater dungeon, the second underwater dungeon, the boss is Ultros.
Yes, the
And he's
Ultros.
like, I've been living in this dungeon. I'm here. I'm gonna fight you. And you have to
Yes.
fight Ultros from Final Fantasy VI. He's here. So we were like, he's been living in this dungeon. He's from the future because he's been in the
Yes.
dungeon. So that means the future is Final Fantasy VI. So I remember finally. God.
Well,
Anyway, so yeah, that boss fight is like awesome though.
it's
It's
so
very
good. The
funny.
music is amazing. Obviously, the music is great in
Yeah.
every section of the game.
And then in Sid's tower, there are little imps that are running around, and they can sometimes get into like mech armor.
Yes.
And then the boss of that dungeon is an imp in like a bigger, fancier mech armor,
Mhm.
and then 2 other imps behind him.
And Sid gets to go into a tank
Yeah,
to
you get
fight that
you get
fight.
to control a tank. It's so
Yes.
cool. But you have to fight them twice because you go into Sid's tower twice. You go in once for the submarine and then once for the airship.
Mhm.
And then the airship time, they're a little stronger and they're
Yep.
like, we're back for revenge or whatever. Who was the boss in the like mount? Oh, no, it was Glass Goth,
Yeah, it
obviously,
was
in the mountain
first
dungeon.
class goth fight.
And then the second Glass Goth fight. So yeah, anyway, just a little detour that I remembered some stuff. Ultros is in the game.
Yes.
But Glassgoth, you get to him. He's now transformed into like a weird lobster guy
Yeah,
or
it
something.
kind of looked like the first kind of boss from Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, yeah, a little bit. So you defeat him in the dungeon, you beat him up,
Mhm.
and then everything's good. It's all good. You just
Yep.
like it's straight up. It just goes from that. Or will you like save Shiroma or whatever?
Yes.
Escape to town. Everybody's happy.
The
eh,
cutscene is so funny,
Yeah,
like, because they mouth words, but then there's no words,
yeah.
like, in the
Shiroma's just
subtitles.
like because there have been subtitles sometimes,
Yes.
but then Shiroma like mouths some words and it's just like he's
It
not
doesn't say
saying
any
anything.
subtitles for it at all.
But Shiroma, I think we like escape from the dungeon, but it's like exploding or something.
Mhm.
It's breaking apart, so we lose Shiroma for a second. So it's like they're trying to be like, "Oh no, did Shiroma make it? We don't know." And then she obviously shows up like
Yep.
right away. But then a little Guz shows up with her, and
Mhm.
it's Glass Goth, but like back in Guz form,
Yes.
and he's like being all sad or whatever. He can't talk because he's like a little Guz now, but he's like sorry about everything. He's like, "Oh, please, like, can you forgive me or
Mhm.
whatever?" And I'm just a little poor Guz. And then he like transfers his soul
Yes.
into a little doll that Sharoma has in her
Mhm.
house, and now uh he's called
Yeah,
Cuz,
cuz Kuz.
and he's another party member that you can have. So you've
Yep.
beaten the game, but there's some bonus stuff you can do at the end of the game, and now you have Cuz unlocked that you can
Mhm.
play with. So we played most of the like bonus stuff at the end of the game. Some of it was like a little hard, and we were like, I don't know if we're gonna actually do this.
Yep.
But that's I mean that's the story of the game. You leave town, or Mog is leaving town, and he's like, I'm going. He can stay. I know he loves it
Mhm.
here. And then Chocobo comes along with him anyway. He like hops on the cart, and they leave and wave goodbye to
Yep.
Sharoma and Cuz and
It's very
everybody.
nice.
And then you get back to town, as like a new game plus thing.
Mhm.
You can talk to Sharoma, and she explains that all the dungeons that were in the game previously are all unlocked again, but you go in and only play as the side characters.
Yep.
You also start from level 1 with the side characters, and you just got to get through the dungeon. So it's like a true roguelike at this
Yes,
point,
yes.
where you like will lose everything, you don't keep anything, you start at level 1 every time.
Mhm.
So we did play a little bit of that. We played through the underwater one with Sharoma, and we got through that.
Yep.
And then the other ones were like, this is so hard. These
Yes.
and like these characters are, because we're so used to playing it with two players, and like I said in the beginning of the episode, playing with two players is basically like doing double damage
Mhm.
every time. And so going back to just a single player, not even having a second like even NPC walking with you,
Yeah.
is so brutal to
And you
us.
start
Like,
at level 1 with
yeah,
nothing.
no items at all, and you can't even equip like, because they don't have talons or
Yeah.
saddles or whatever, so you can't equip anything.
But, even though you get to do those 4 dungeons with the solo second
Hmm.
player characters, there's still a bonus final dungeon that you can play with the Chocobo and a second character,
Yeah,
um, and we did that one.
yeah, we did that one. Oh, also, um, when you go into the dungeons, you can like do the characters like bonus abilities or special abilities or
Mhm.
whatever. And Cuz's special ability is he shoots a beam at an enemy and becomes that enemy. So
Yes.
that's what you would do in his dungeon, is you would run around like becoming a Marlboro or something, and attacking people like that. So that was kind of interesting. But
Yes.
again, it was so hard because when he's in his normal form, he's so weak and everything.
Yes, absolutely. I love his noises though. Like they did get a little annoying,
Yeah,
but it's like a little squeaky toy or something like that.
yeah. And then the final bonus dungeon, you're going through it. There's 30 floors, which is like the
Mhm.
most out of any of the dungeons so far. All of them have been like 25
Yeah.
at the most, really, or 27, I think. Then you get to the end of that dungeon. There's not really any like cutscenes or anything throughout the dungeon,
Mhm.
but then you get to the end, and the final boss is Leviathan. And
Yes.
Leviathan's just like, he's like mad that he hasn't been in the game so
Yes.
far. It's really
Yes.
so funny because all the other summons have like shown up at some point, and he's just like, "What the fuck?
Mhm.
Why am I not in this game? I'm mad. I'm mad at you now."
And then you fight him and you
You
beat
fight
him.
him. He's just like in the same boss arena that Ultros was in,
Mhm.
and has the same music and everything.
Yep.
And then yeah, you beat him, and that's it. And you get a little bonus cutscene at the end that
Mhm.
shows like everybody having a good time. Sid's on his like submarine, and people are like
Yes.
flying around on the airship. I think. Oh yeah, Chubby Chocobo's in the airship.
Yes. And then Mog is like taking I think Mog took Sid's tank actually and
Yeah,
Sid's like running after like give me back my tank.
it's good. It's a fun little cutscene that you get unlocked after you beat all the bonus stuff.
Yep.
But yeah, that's basically Chocobo Mystery Dungeon.
Yeah.
or oh my god, I said it wrong.
Chocobo's
Chocobo's
Dungeon
Dungeon
2.
2. Is there any? Are there any like mechanical stuff that we missed? Do
I
you
know,
think
I'm
like
trying to think.
hmm?
Hmm.
Because we kind of I feel like we kind of explained everything. We explained the feathers, which was pretty new
Yep.
in the game, and obviously like all the spell stuff is the same from the first game.
Yeah, I feel like we got everything.
I think we covered it all really, and like I said, as the second player, I thought it was pretty fun. It was
Mhm.
you're not going to be directly controlling the action a lot of the time, but it was still like a chill time. It's like when you play second player in like one of the 3D Mario games where
Yes.
like Mario Galaxy, you're just like collecting the little bits or
Mhm.
whatever, or in like Odyssey, you're playing as the hat.
Yes,
So it's
yes.
just like one of those things where it's like second player is just kind of like a chill little like fun thing you can do that's
Mhm.
not really directly controlling much. But it still was pretty useful because sometimes you would be low on health, and so I would like block an enemy from coming to
Yes.
attack you and stuff like that. Oh, actually, one thing about the system that I did want to talk about is the ATB system is slightly different from the first
Mhm.
game. So in the first game, everyone had an ATB meter that was filling up for battle, but in this one, Chocobo doesn't have a meter. You just every time you move or attack, the enemy's meter goes up by
Yeah.
like one tick, basically.
Yep.
So the Chocobo can always do whatever it wants at any time, but every time you do something, the enemies and the second player, their ATB meter goes up one.
Yes.
So
But
I thought that was kind of interesting. It was weird at first, but I actually really liked it.
one thing that was interesting that we used to our advantage a lot was the enemies, they when they get a tick for their ATB, they can move with that.
Yeah.
But they can only move one square. But
Hmm.
with the second player, they can move
Oh yeah.
freely no matter what. So
So I could
if
get into like position basically. Like you would
yes.
walk up to an enemy. And I remember like in one of the last dungeons, like there was a little thing that I like ran around and we basically like flanked the enemy.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was so cool. Like basically the chocobo would move one, and then whoever was the second person like just gets to move as much as they want
Hmm.
and can attack once and then retreat even after the attack,
Yeah.
and then I can move again, and then we can plan. It's basically like
The
uh
tactics
yeah,
almost.
it's
Yeah.
kind of like tactics mixed with a roguelike.
Yeah. It was really cool because I liked that even with like Leviathan, like the Leviathan fight, you would cast a spell and then my ATB meter would be full. So then I would run up to the Leviathan, hit him, and
Hmm.
then run back, and then you would cast another spell. So like I didn't want to be next to him because obviously he would attack
Yep.
me afterwards. So I would just run up, attack, run back. Then you would do your turn. Then I would run up, attack, run back.
Yeah,
So
it was so great. Like it was like maximum damage, minimum defense, or
yeah,
minimum damage taken.
yeah. Also, another funny thing, the NPC characters, like the second player characters, also had their own health
Hmm.
in the game, and for the longest time, we were like didn't know that you could heal them, but in the bonus dungeon, in the extra dungeon at the end of the game, we found out you could kick potions at them to heal
Yes.
them. So that's how long it took us to figure out that you could heal the second
Yeah, but
player.
that is so cool. Like it just shows you like there's so many things in this game that like
Hmm.
you're gonna forget things.
Yeah, there's so much going on, and even more so than the first game. I remember when we were talking about the first game, we were saying like there's so many systems in this game that are
Yeah,
so cool and interesting, and like I said, it's like 10 times more
like
interesting in this game.
every single thing that was in the first game is here and more.
Yeah, it's so good. This game is a hard recommend. Like I
Absolutely.
you gotta play this game. This game's
Yes.
great. It's funny, it's cool, it's cute. Little chibi guys running
Oh
around. It's
yes.
awesome.
I think if I had this one when I was younger for the PS1, I would have loved it.
Oh yeah, I'd
Like it
be
would have been
crazy for this game.
one of my favorite games of my childhood if it
Yeah,
was in my childhood.
definitely. So I think it's come to that time. I think
Oh
we've talked
yes.
about everything we want to talk about in regards to Chocobo's Dungeon 2, and now we need to rank this bad boy.
Oh
This is going
yes.
on the official rankings. So let's pull up the most enjoyable list.
Mm.
Where is this game going on most enjoyable? We were talking about this when we were playing. I feel like this game is going to be pretty high on these
Absolutely.
lists. Like Chocobo's Mysterious Dungeon was low, but I still really liked it a lot. But this game is like it blew it out of the water, dude.
Absolutely.
Like Let's see. We'll
Definitely past the Legend games.
oh yeah, past the Legend games, past the manga or the anime. I mean, Legend of the Crystals,
Yes,
Mystic Quest, done.
past it.
Adventure,
Adventure,
boom.
get out of
Final
here.
Fantasy 1, boom.
Get out of
Get out of
here.
here.
Final Fantasy,
The manga for Final Fantasy 3,
get
get out
out
of
of
here.
here.
We got Final
Final
Fantasy
Fantasy
2,
2.
get out of
Honestly,
here.
get on
Get
out of
out of
here.
here.
Final
It's
Fantasy 2, go away.
go away.
Final Fantasy 3? Could
Well,
could
a
we
little
could we
controversial.
say
Get out of
get on
here.
out of
Get
here?
out of here, Final Fantasy
But
3.
but I think here's where I might have to draw the
Yeah,
line.
Final Fantasy 4, you're gonna draw the line?
Now, see, I love myself. I love how Final Fantasy 4 like I feel like that was the first story of the mainline Final Fantasy games
Mhm.
that really like took me.
Yeah, they really, like, went for it for the story of Final Fantasy 4 in,
Uh,
like, a huge way. Like, Final Fantasy 2 kinda went for the story a
mhm.
lot too, it had a lot of dramatic moments, but, like, Final Fantasy 4, there's so many memorable things, like the moon, um,
Yes.
the Palom and Porum, like, sacrificing themselves, the
Tella
whole
dying for
oh,
real.
yeah, Tella dying, your best friend betraying you and then coming back as, like, a good
Yes.
guy at the end.
The whole arc of just like being for the bad guy at the beginning and then
Yeah,
and then realizing
that you're
that
doing the
you are
wrong
for the
thing.
bad guy and you don't want to be.
Yeah,
So
I think you're right, honestly, you've convinced me.
I think the story of Chocobo's Dungeon 2 like is good, but
But
I
it's not gonna beat Final Fantasy
I
4.
don't
You
think
go to
so.
the moon in that
You go
game.
to the moon,
You go to the moon and fight the moon people.
but I think like that's still a great spot for it to be.
Absolutely. So Chocobo's Dungeon 2 goes above 3 mainline Final Fantasy games to be the new number what is that? Number 6 most enjoyable Final Fantasy game. I'm sticking to it.
I'm sticking to I believe it.
And I think even in a specific day, in a specific mood, maybe I'd even put it above 4.
Yeah.
There's no way I'm putting it above 5 though. I
Yeah,
mean,
no.
five's just
5 is
chef's
oh,
kiss.
yes.
Let Chef Latonberry's kiss, you know?
Yes.
So yeah, this is the new number 6 on the most enjoyable list.
Mhm.
Now going down to most Final Fantasy, the most Final Fantasy list, this game was very like way more like Final Fantasy than the first game. There's so much
Yes.
more stuff in it. There's airships, there's submarines,
Yep.
underwater dungeons.
We've got stuff from other Final Fantasy games even.
Yeah,
Like
Ultros is
Ultros.
here. There's different characters that are having their own story arcs and stuff, going through their own
Mhm.
drama. You have all this. I mean, all the summons were in the first game too. I mean, there's just there. This game is just the first game, but 10 times more.
I just realized like even though Final Fantasy 2 is like technically a sequel to the first one, this is like the first sequel to a game.
Yeah,
Like we're going
like
to
it's
get to like Final Fantasy 10 2 or like
yeah.
13 2. Like I feel like
This
this
is
is
the
the
first
first
like direct sequel. I think is that
yes,
true? Actually,
to
yeah.
a specific game. I mean Legend, I guess,
I mean,
but
those are
those
also
aren't
kind of not really connected. They're in the same universe, but
and
they're not the same
they're
characters,
not even
really.
really Final Fantasy games too.
Yeah. So I think you're right. I think this is like the first official sequel that is
Yes.
in the game, or in the in our list. Anyway, going back to most Final Fantasy, I think
Hmm.
it's going above like a lot of this stuff. I mean, it's definitely
Yes.
above like Mystic Quest. I think.
Yes,
Is it
absolutely.
above the first Final Fantasy though?
I would
I
say
think so.
so.
I think it's like pretty on par with the first Final Fantasy because like the first Final Fantasy has a lot of the stuff in it. You know, you have like Bahamut that you meet in
Mhm.
Final Fantasy 1 and stuff. So I don't know. I think it is. Final Fantasy 2 even.
Yeah, I
I
think
think
so as
even
well.
so, like yeah. And again, this game has a Sid in it, which is like
Yes.
so important for a Final Fantasy game to have a Sid.
Like I think another important thing for Final Fantasy is that like it has to be some obviously not just confusing, but it has to be like some sort of
Convoluted, like
god like trying to take over the world.
yeah, or there's like time travel or like multiple dimensions and
Yes.
stuff like that.
And some weird crazy looking being
Yeah,
that
exactly.
is all the head of it.
Yeah, and crystals are important in this game
Yep.
too. Like it's all there really.
Mhm.
So I think yeah, above Final Fantasy 2. I think it's above the Final Fantasy 3 manga.
Yep.
I think it's above Legend of the Crystals.
Is that's
That's the
the
anime.
yes. Oh, I would say
Yeah.
definitely.
Is it
Above?
above Final Fantasy 7? That's an
I
interesting
just
question. Is it more Final Fantasy? Does it define Final Fantasy more than Final Fantasy 7
you know,
does?
I think we m I think it is.
Yeah, do you? I don't know. I guess yeah, cuz when we were talking about it on the episode when we were talking about Final Fantasy 7, it really is like a departure for the series.
Yes, it's like they're starting anew trying to, like, become something different.
Yeah, like so but like everything is there. There's airships, there's Sid, there's chocobos, there's all the enemies, all the weapons. You kind of do have everything there. So I don't know. Hmm.
It is a tough it's a tough one because yeah, I feel like they're both so similar
Yeah.
to the way Final Fantasy is, but they're also so different.
Yeah. I think so looking ahead, the next one's Final Fantasy 4. I don't think it's more Final Fantasy than Final
Absolutely
Fantasy
not.
4. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah,
Let's put it above Final Fantasy
I think
7.
it has to be.
I think it's true. I think Final Fantasy 7, we're not saying it's bad. Obviously, it's like at the almost very oh, it is the very top of our most enjoyable list. It's a great game, but it is its own thing. Like it's very much like they got who is it? Kitase to come in
Yep.
and direct the game or at least like lead the direction. I don't remember the specifics.
Mhm.
Got very cinematic because he was a very like cinema focused guy.
Yes.
So it was really like a push forward for the whole franchise. So I think it is kind of very unique in that way. So I think we got to put Chocobo's Dungeon 2 above Final Fantasy
Oh,
7.
yes. Maybe we're crazy.
Maybe we're crazy, but Chocobo's Dungeon 2 is the new number 6 for both lists, most Final
Wow.
Fantasy and most enjoyable. Right on both lists right below Final Fantasy 4. So I guess the moral of the story is go play Final Fantasy 4,
Yeah.
guys. It's a great
Oh,
game.
yes.
What a banger.
The Dark
And
Knight.
the Dark Knight Rises. But this game is also incredible. I think you should play it. It's not really available anywhere, but if you find a
Yes.
copy or do a little sneaky something, a little emulation maybe, it's
Oh.
a great time. It's a fun time. A little game that you could pop on here and there
Mhm.
and do a little dungeon run. It's great. I highly
Yes.
recommend this game.
Absolutely. It's both, like, entertaining, like, you think you're doing good in the game, and it's entertaining, like, in a funny way.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of like funny little jokes that happen in
Mhm.
funny situations, and it's like great. It's a fun time.
Oh,
And
yes.
it's not too easy or not too hard,
Mhm.
really. I mean, the extra bonus dungeons are kind of hard, but we never really like struggled with the game in any meaningful way. So like, it's just a fun, breezy little time. And
Mhm.
there's a lot of little systems that you can mess around with and get all you can collect all the feathers and stuff like that. There's so much to do in the game. I think it's a great
Yes.
game. I think if they like re-released it on Switch or something, which
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
there is a Chocobo's Mysterious Dungeon game or Mystery Dungeon game on Switch, which I know people like. So
Mhm.
maybe once we get there, maybe we'll be saying like, you gotta play this one.
Yeah.
But like, I'd love if they re-release this game
Absolutely.
on Switch or something because it
They
would be a great little mobile game to play.
Yes, they should do, like, how they did with, like, obviously the mainline Final Fantasies,
Or they
but
also did like
also
the Saga,
Legends.
yeah, the Legends, the Saga
Like,
games.
just remaster or, remaster all of the Chocobo's Mysterious Dungeon. Like,
Yeah,
do 1 and 2 just in a
in a
pack
pack.
together.
Yeah, that would be sick.
Like,
A
you
new official translation of the first one too
yeah,
would be awesome.
that would be great.
I think it would be awesome. I think people would really love it because I do think like I knew nothing about these games going into this whole
Mhm.
project. Like I'd never even heard of the Chocobo Mystery Dungeon games. I'd heard of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon,
Yes.
but these games never heard of them. They're just a delight. They're
Absolutely.
great. Like I don't know why they aren't as popular as they should be because they
Yes.
should be like super popular. They're really fun.
I think if we weren't trying to, like, get every game in, like, I
Yeah.
think we would spend a lot more time
Oh
with this
yeah.
game. Like,
Yeah,
it is
I got that
absolutely so much
itch.
fun.
I got
Yes.
that itch to get all those feathers. I want to
Yes.
collect all the
We need
feathers.
to grow the tree.
We need to grow that tree. We need to find the ending to all these storylines because that's another thing we didn't mention is
Yes.
for some reason the storylines in town just stop progressing.
But maybe it's just to our faults,
Yeah,
like
maybe we missed something. I don't know,
yeah.
but Uh, it's I don't know. I would like to see the end of those. You know,
Mhm.
it's a fun game. Like I said, maybe pop it in every once in a while. Maybe I'll jam on it and
Yep.
unlock some feathers or something. But that's the end of the episode. We've
Mhm.
ranked it. It's there. It's above Final Fantasy VII on
We
most Final Fantasy.
we did it.
We did it. And next time, oh boy,
Oh
I'm
boy.
so excited because next time is Final Fantasy VIII,
Oh
the
yes.
next mainline Final Fantasy game. We're out of the Chocobo games for a little bit, but don't you worry. Oh, there's a lot of them coming after Final
Oh
Fantasy VIII.
yes.
They really like this era. They really are trying to make Chocobo like the Pokemon of
Yes.
Final or Pokemon, the Pikachu of Final Fantasy is
Yes.
what I wanted to say. They're really trying to make it a mascot, a cute little mascot for people.
It's working for me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's working for me too. And so we're gonna get a lot more Chocobo games very
Mhm.
soon. But Final Fantasy VIII coming up. I mean, you might not hear from us for a while because
Yes.
it might be a meaty one. I'm excited because I've heard a lot about this game.
Mhm.
There's like a lot of fun theories that people have about the
Yes.
story too. But it's a game I have played some of. I've played the first disc of it like 5 times,
Yeah, I believe
and
I have
then
too.
I just for some reason never kept going, or
Mm.
maybe I played a little bit of disc 2, but I have played the first disc quite a bit. So I know some of the early stuff,
Mhm.
and I'm excited to get into that stuff because that game this game is also like really weird in the same way
Yes.
that like Final Fantasy 7 is really weird. There's a lot of there's like dinosaurs in the
Yes.
beginning of the game.
Honestly, I feel like this next set of games in the mainline
Mhm.
like series, they're all weird.
Yeah. Final Fantasy 9, I mean, I think out of all the ones coming up is like the one I know the least about because that one even we also had that one, but I didn't even beat the first disc. I think I got
Yes.
like there's like an early part of that game that I got stuck on a
Mhm.
lot that I couldn't figure out how to progress, but also I was like super young, so maybe I was just like stupid or something.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to get to that because like I really don't know like anything about
Mhm.
that game at all.
But we're going to some games with multiple discs.
Yep,
It's gonna take some time.
we're gonna go to meet our friend Squall
Yep.
and
Cipher,
Cypher and Selfie and the lady,
you know?
you know. So I'm excited. I hope you join us for that episode whenever that happens.
Oh yes.
But we're gonna get into that. We're gonna play so much Triple Triad.
Oh yeah,
We're
we're
gonna
gonna
be
be
lousy with Triple
masters.
Triad.
We're gonna be so into the meta.
Yeah.
Our decks
So
are gonna be perfect.
that's it. I hope you're excited for Final Fantasy VIII. We're excited for Final Fantasy VIII.
Mhm.
That's it for us.
Yep.
Goodbye, everybody. I hope you
Goodbye.
go out there and I hope you play Chocobo Dungeon 2.
Yes.
It's great. Goodbye.
Goodbye.